Report out the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report, man. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure y'all check out blackfoxnews.com/shop to actually support the movement. You can type that in the URL, or you could go to the Instagram link in the bio. You could get all sorts of paraphernalia, you know what I'm saying? Get some fly shit like this, different color, shape, sizes. We got other gear on there too, you know what I mean? Support us, and we continue to support y'all, giving y'all that real. Now, right now, even with Biden, President-elect Biden, over current President Donald Trump by over 5 million votes in this election shit. You know what I'm saying? Definitely busting his ass on the electoral college votes. Trump is still like refusing to acknowledge that and saying that he's continuing to contest the election. You know, they got all sorts of lawsuits going out and all of that, whatever. But now you have he submitted a budget request for next year, and the Office of Management and Budget is actually going to process it for next fiscal year, apparently. And then you have Secretary of State Mike Pompeo also saying, like, now this is the head of the State Department. He's saying that they're preparing for a smooth transition into a second Trump term. So they playing for keeps out here, despite how hypocritical it looks with the U.S. trying to impose democracy on other countries. And here we are, have an administration that's trying to upend that shit. But despite all of that, somebody from Joe Biden's team actually told CBS that they, world leaders are actually contacting Joe Biden and congratulating him on the win without the help of the State Department. Green War and Graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So Joe Biden's transition team is planning on suing Emily Murphy. This is the head of the General Services Administration and was appointed to that position by Trump. They're going to sue her for refusing to sign a letter of ascertainment, basically certifying that Joe Biden is the new president. They're going to do, and without this letter, understand, Biden can't get access to like government funds or to the federal agency. So it's a huge, it's definitely not a smooth transition at all. Biden's talking about how it's an embarrassment. On the flip side, you got Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell out here talking about when he was asked by a Spectrum News reporter, McKend, actually asked what does it say that other foreign leaders are congratulating Joe Biden on his win and Republicans are refusing to do so. And Mitch McConnell's basically like, what it says is that until the Electoral College votes, and anyone running for office can exhaust concerns on counting through any court of appropriate jurisdiction. So I think that's very telling. You know, they already are planning on the Electoral College to vote contrary to what the people are voting. At least maybe a couple, maybe enough to overturn the Electoral College votes and favor Trump to win the election. We will see, man. Green War and Graduation. Report out the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. Gotta clear something up. A U.S. postal worker, a USPS worker in Pennsylvania actually has said that postmaster in Erie had actually ordered all of these late mail-in ballots to be to be backdated to being before election day, even though they came in after election day. And this is something that was widely cited by like a lot of Republican leadership, your Lindsey Grahams of the world and all of that. But this U.S. postal worker has recanted that statement. So, which is a heavy scenario. I wonder what the consequences would be for this motherfucker, because this was used as evidence of like widespread voter fraud, of which there still none has showed up yet, for real. So we'll see how this turns out. Green War and Graduation. For the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So it's crazy how today is Veterans Day, and the actual mail-in ballots of military people is actually being challenged by Trump's re-election campaign, specifically in Nevada. So they challenged over 3,000 ballots, saying that the people who sent these votes don't live in the state of Nevada. keep in mind that among them were military people who actually either were stationed throughout the U.S. or were overseas and had actually sent in their ballots through military post offices. The New York Times themselves, they actually have contacted dozens of election officials from dozens of states' election officials, and there has been no reports of any voter fraud or any irregularity. So again, like this whole argument that there's this mass voter fraud going on is standing on air. Green, war, and graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News report, man. Coronavirus shit is real. Make sure you check out Rona, aka BFN World Broadcast number 17, to remind you how this shit started or whatever and where we were. And then look at where we are today. Yesterday, another world record, 140,000 infections in one day in the United States. That is also, keep in mind, in the first 10 days of November, the U.S. has actually gotten 1 million more COVID-19 infections. So as far as like an exponential increase goes, that's a fucking lot. You also have right now, the U.S. having the 60,000 hospitalizations for COVID-19. That's also a record. You have places like in Oklahoma, Republican Governor Kevin Stitt refusing public health officials' requests for a mask mandate, even as they, in places like in Tulsa, they ran out of ICU beds. You have in Texas, they have 1 million COVID-19 infections. That's more than the state of Italy, the country Italy. You know what I'm saying? So, and then even specifically in El Paso, they had to actually more than double their mobile morgues because as ICU beds have ran out, and what they're doing is they're taking COVID-19 patients and they're actually transporting them to downtown, to this downtown convention center that actually been turned into a field hospital. So shit is real. Green, war, and graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So you actually have coronavirus cases like surging all through the U.S. as I previously told you. But check this out. Over in Iowa, the governor over there, Republican Kim Reynolds, actually put a limited mask mandate, saying masks are mandatory for indoor gatherings of 25 people or more. Also, you have in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, you have their school district actually halting again the in-person classes. They're delaying that until further notice. Over in Newark, New Jersey, next to my hometown and all of that, you actually have 9 p.m. curfews being issued on the people on weeknights now, because they already had curfews in place due to COVID-19 cases surging. And then also in New York City, Mayor Bill de Blasio, he's warning of a second wave of COVID-19 for the city, as well as like their test positivity rate has exceeded 2%. Green, war, and graduation. What other New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. Now, I told y'all yesterday how the Supreme Court actually was going to hear oral arguments on a case that is attempting to overturn and get rid of Obamacare, or what is really known as the Affordable Care Act. Now, this is something that was backed by the Trump administration and is led by 18 Republican-led states, led by Texas. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, it seems like the conservative judges aren't in agreement with what's going to be the case, because you had Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who actually was put in there by Trump, who said, like, basically it looks like they just want to, it seemed like the proper remedy is to get rid of the mandate. But, the whole thing with pre-existing conditions and all of that, the rest of it should remain intact. And that just goes against what their suit is trying to do. They want to get rid of the individual mandate, saying that's unconstitutional, as well as the entire Affordable Care Act. So, in the middle of the worst pandemic in history, we'll see what happens though. Green, war, and graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So, Democratic candidate for senator in North Carolina, Cal Cunningham, actually conceded the race to Republican Tom Tillis. And it's crazy too, because if you heard some of the ads that Tom Tillis was running or whatever against Cal Cunningham, it was like real fear mongering, low IQ type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like Cal Cunningham wants to have a conversation with Nancy Pelosi, and he's with the deep state and shit like that or whatever. But I guess the Republican voters went for it. Nevertheless, and you know, let's be real. North Carolina is known for like some fishy shit when it comes to the voting situation, but nevertheless, that's what's going down, and that solidifies the 49 senator seats occupied by the Grand Old Party, the Republican Party in the U.S. Congress. They do think that Dan Sullivan, the Republican senator in Alaska, who actually is way ahead of the Democratic contender Al Gross, but they, even though some supporters feel like Al Gross could still return an upset once all of the mail-in votes are counted. Nevertheless, the balance of power in the Senate is still going to be determined by these two runoff elections that's going on in January in Georgia. So we'll see how this turns out. Green War and Graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So the New York Times actually reported that Michael Cooperberg, this is the top scientist, and he actually leads a team that produces this quadrennial report on the National Climate Assessment that basically talks to, you know, that actually takes is done by like hundreds of scientists across 13 federal agencies, where they come together and talk about the climate. And this in 2018, the last report actually showed that, like, you know, climate change is putting people in severe health risks. It even threatens to not only cause more severe weather damage, but also to it'll actually shrink the U.S. economy by 10% by the end of the century. Nevertheless, the New York Times was reporting Michael Cooperberg was told on Friday that he will no longer be serving that position. So somebody else that is, you know, reporting the truth about climate change is removed in the Trump administration. Green War and Graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So Tropical Storm Theta becomes the 29th named storm in the Atlantic Ocean this year. This actually makes 2020 the busiest. It already was the busiest hurricane season of the year, or storm season of ever on record. So here we are, another storm, Theta, and people, especially in Central America, are still recovering from Hurricane Ada. In Guatemala, they actually stopped rescue efforts in the village of Queja, or it looks like it's spelled Queja. You know what I'm saying? But Queja. Queja. Let me say that properly. Nevertheless, they stopped efforts after a bunch of people had actually died from mudslides that were caused by Hurricane Ada. So you know, you had one villager saying he lost 40 family members from his village. The village is completely wiped out, uninhabitable. Nevertheless, you have the Guatemalan government that are actually going to petition to the Trump administration for actually granting temporary protected status to any Guatemalans that might be living in the United States due to Hurricane Ada. We'll see how that turns out. Green War and Graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So actually, you have House Democrats in the United States that are demanding that the Trump administration stop deportations of dozens of Cameroonian asylum seekers. Now, many of these asylum seekers are like activists, or some of them are activists and you know, fleeing political. You know, they may even face political persecution out there. Some of them got warrants. I mean, these are government forces that are known for extrajudicial killings. So you had the Congressional Black Caucus actually writing a letter to Trump himself, basically saying that to deport these asylum seekers actually makes it look like Cameroon is like safe for deportees, and actually the accusations of human rights abuses are overblown. That's like deporting them would support that notion. So we'll see what turns out. Green War and Graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report, man. Rest in peace. 31-year-old Mexican journalist Israel Vasquez was actually shot to death in Salamanca, Guanajuato, minutes before he was going to go on live reporting from a crime scene where human remains have been found. So this is the third Mexican journalist to actually be murdered in the last 2 weeks. Mexico in general as a country is is now being known for it's one of the most dangerous places for journalists. So you have the journalists reporting community that's actually calling for the killers to be, brought to justice, because at the end of the day, they can't have this reign of terror over the media. Now, since the war on drugs started in Mexico in 2006, it said that violence and shit like this has skyrocketed, with 250,000 casualties of this war on drugs, including dozens of Mexican journalists. So that's where they at with it, man. Green Wall and graduation, shit real.